All right, this is the 10-5-5 drill. This is an acceleration drill and part of our approach that allows us to work on our approach of pushing out and then using visual cues to understand when we need to start transitioning into a more upright posture and when we need to focus on having an increased stride rate, which we call turnover, right? Have faster turnover. So what I've done is I've got a measuring tape right down here. I've got it on the metric side, so in meters. I've placed 2 white cones right here at the end. What I'm gonna do is it's 10-5-5, so we can just count back from there, 5 meters. This first cone is a big visual cone. It's at 5 meters. Back here at 10 meters, or another 5 away, is another big cone. And then all the way back here, this is at 20 meters away, or 10 meters away from that nearest cone, is another set of cones. So this is where I'm gonna start from, okay? So what I'm gonna do is for 10 meters, I'm gonna drive, really pushing out, accelerating. Once I get to this first cone, this signifies when I should start transitioning to get upright. So I'm gonna go here, then I'm gonna start to transition, get my body into an upright posture. Once I get here, I'm gonna try to increase that turnover rate. I'm gonna try to really step down, high heel recovery, high upright body posture. And here I'm just gonna really focus on turning over and turning over. So I'm gonna go ahead and come back over here and you can watch this drill through. Now, if you notice, I'm here on the track. So what I'm gonna do is do this on the track a few times to take the runway out, to take the sandpit out, okay? Because I just wanna do this naturally. Use these as visual cones just to kind of understand. Also, what I'm gonna do is myself or have another athlete or a coach, hopefully as a coach or you have someone, as I get down here, the first time through, you're just gonna count how many steps you take. Now, counting every step is pretty hard, right? But you can count every other. So if I'm a left-footed jumper, then I always start with my left foot, then I can count my lefts, right? So step 1, 2, right? Now, I know that this takes me roughly about 4 steps or 4 lefts to get there. So it's about 8 strides to get roughly in this area. Now, for younger athletes, this might be 10. You might hit 5 lefts, so that's 10 strides. Maybe even younger athletes, this is 12, right? So it's gonna vary by athlete, how many strides they take, how strong they are, how fast they are. But for me, I know this is gonna be about 8 strides. So I'm gonna roughly, in my head, I can be counting, but I don't really wanna be focusing on the counting on this drill, and we'll talk about that in a second, in another drill, later drill called the turnover drill. But in this drill, I'm using these cones as my visual cues on when to start transitioning. So I'm here, I'm gonna push out, transition, turnover. All right. Now, I actually noticed that I did a little bit different and my right foot ended up being actually right here, right? So whatever I did in pushing out, how hard I pushed out, my right foot ended up being right here. And that's okay, right? Because we're not trying to land right here. We're trying to get a rough estimate of just visually pushing out. And if I do that the same every time, and my left foot's here every time, perfect. Then I can just say, okay, roughly this far is where my 8 steps should be. So what I'm gonna do now is now I can take this onto the runway and now use this as visual representation of, as I get closer and closer to that takeoff board, roughly how far I should be away is gonna give me those cues. And if I do this over and over again, you're just gonna know where you are on the runway and when you should be in what phase. All right, so now I've got the 10-5-5 drill set up here on the runway. I'm gonna be taking off from this board. So I've got my measuring tape on the side. I've got cones set up for where I'm gonna take off from, or roughly that area, okay? I've got this 5 meters back. I've got this another 5 meters back. This is 10 meters away from my takeoff. And I've got this all the way back, another 10 meters back or 20 meters away overall. So this is most likely gonna be where most young athletes are and all the way up to early high school. Very rarely do you see them push further back unless they're on an upper 16 step or 18 step approach. But now I'm gonna, right here, again, I'm probably not gonna be jumping right there, right? So I'm just gonna run through and just use the cones as my visual cue. Okay, and then I can have a coach stand down there and actually put wherever my left foot is, because I'm a left-footed jumper. So I'm here,